Hello, this is our day 2 reflection video for week 3, and it's also going to preview what we're covering tomorrow, which is going to be continuous range. And just before I scroll up my screen, I'm going to remind myself that when we talk about range, we are talking about y values. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And just like before, I'm going to use my highlighters to help me um, uh, bring up important points. And since the y values are what we're looking at, we're going to be looking at our y-axis numbers. So that is our vertical axis. So I'm going to drag my highlighter over here, my green one. So this is my y-axis. It's the vertical up and down axis. I'm only looking at where the points or the boundaries would be on this axis. So these are the only axis numbers that I'm looking at. I'm going to use my yellow highlighter to show my boundaries. And just like we did with domain, which was left and right, side to side, so we had our left boundary and our right boundary, with range, it's low to high, up and down, because we're traveling up and down the y-axis. So we need the lowest point and the highest point. So that's what we're going to be looking at for range. So I'm just going to go and start off with my lowest boundary. It doesn't actually have to be a point that with a dot on the line, but it's just the lowest area of the red graph. And in this particular case, it does happen to be one of the endpoints. So it's right there. And when I look at that, I look at where is that along the green y-axis. So I'm just going to take my pencil or my marker, and I'm going to draw a little arrow from it to the y-axis, and I'm going to circle that spot. I'm going to, if I count it up, that's at positive, from the origin, that's at positive 1, 2. So that's at a 2. I'm going to put that's my low number. And I'm going to do the same thing, or my low boundary point. I'm going to find my highest boundary point, or like the top. Some people say bottom to top. Some people say low to high, up and down. So if I'm trying to find my upper boundary, I'm going to the very top of the red, right there. And again, that also happens to land on an endpoint. That doesn't always land on an endpoint as we saw with domain, but in this particular one, it is landing on an endpoint. And I'm going to look at where is that on there. That's at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to count that again, but I needed to get the reference. So I'm going to draw my line over. I'm going to circle that spot, and from the origin, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's my upper bound. So I'm going to put a 6. So another way to think of that, lower, upper, or some people say bottom to top. Either way that works for you, as long as you have a way to think about it, or some people think low to high. Now, since range is our y values, I'm going to put that y in between to show that we're talking about all the numbers in between there, and like we highlighted it before, so I'll come back and highlight that again here, like in purple. I'm talking about all the numbers in between those two. Ugh, that was a little bit fat. Talking about all the numbers in between those two, right in here. Okay, in between the 2 and the 6. Okay, so the symbol that we showed, or that we use to show that we're talking about in between, are the less than symbols. So I'm going to add that. Now we've got to decide if we need to underline it, because remember, if it includes the point or the spot, we underline it. If it's not including it, if it's getting close but not quite reaching it, we don't. So one of the ways that we can tell is go back to that low boundary, and I'm going to highlight it again, and look at where that came from. Okay, that came from a closed dot. Well, a closed dot means that it does include it. So if you have a dot like this, you underline the symbol. Okay. Another thing you could do is if the line actually touched it and then turned or something, then you can also do it, because touching it also means it includes it. Now I'm going to look at where that upper boundary came from. Right there. That 6 came from an open dot. Remember, if we have an open dot, that means you don't underline it, because it does not include the 6. It doesn't actually reach it. It's going towards the 6, getting very, very close, but it never actually reaches the 6. So our domain on this particular problem is all the real numbers in between and including a 2, and up to, but not including a 6. Another way to say that is all real numbers greater than or equal to 2 and less than 6, or you can reverse it and say all real numbers less than 6 and greater than or equal to 2.